Okay, here I am. This is my third attempt to record part three. I kid you not, every time I have started this, it has not let me. It has not let me. It has not let me record. I know because this is the one that's going to strike the nerve the most. So let me go ahead and say this. Take what resonates, leave what does not. I caution you, if you are not of deeply melanated origin, this is probably going to be the one that is going to offend you. So if you want to go ahead and heed this warning, heed this call to maybe click off of this one, you can and you probably should, because I'm going to be raw and unfiltered as much as I can. So in part one, I went over how these books helped enlighten me to different faith-based systems, how I grew up learning that different isn't bad. Different simply means different, and it's good to be aware of different, to respect difference and what it has of value in other people's lives. But none of these books at all changed my faith or caused me to not believe in God. I still very much so was a Christian while sifting through all of this information and knowledge. Part two covered how I definitely, one of the most pivotal reasons why I am no longer a Christian is coming into this awareness and realization that there's so much wrong that goes unchecked. And clearly, whoever the God is, whether you want to call the God Allah or Jesus or Yahweh or whatever your deity is, Krishna, Buddha, whomever, has allowed for so much wrong as it pertains to pedophilia and the victims of child molesters, the rapists, irregardless of what gender is committing the act, transgender, feminine, masculine, does not matter. And of course, you got the serial killers or the people who coming out here enacting genocides. With all the human trafficking going on, with all of the sex trafficking going on, the pedophilia, the rapists, like I can't get with a God or any of these gods that allows for there to be justice systems all across this globe that allows this much evil to go unchecked. And the legal systems, the courts of law actually are built upon, for the most part, helping out the perpetrators with this whole claim of if there's any evidence that presents reasonable doubt, so that the jurors can put themselves in the shoes of the person who has been accused of an act. But if there's any shred of doubt that maybe it wasn't them, then they get off or lesser sentencing. I think that's crazy. And of course, I expand upon my feelings on that in part two. Didn't go as deep as I would like to, but hey, there might be a part two to part two. But part three is definitely here to let you know the number one reason. And I called part two the real number one and number two reason, but number one reason is this video right here, part three. And I saved the best for last, the real reason for last. Because I cannot get with, will never ever be able to get with any God that has allowed slavery to take place. Period. Period, point blank. You saw what happened to the Native Americans as the God, them being here, Europeans coming. Let's not call them European settlers. Let's call them invaders. The conquistadors with an intentional plan for God, gold, and glory. That's how it's traditionally taught in world history classes, the motivations for settling the new world, for discovering more new lands to them, according to their perspective. And what? Try to make everybody who came across their path a slave for economic riches. Tried to use the Native Americans as slaves. Didn't work because they knew the land too well, so they'd run away. Realizing how, as they put it, the white devil would make a deal and then go back on their word. And interestingly enough, they coined the term Indian giver, which is exactly the opposite of what was really going on during that time period. Then when they tried to kill them all off, they realized there was too many of them. And they did try. But in their own primary source texts and journals, they counted how it's just too numerous. And I love to bring this map I have in my classroom to show y'all how they knew that there were native people of the Americas here, dark skinned people, paintings, all that type of stuff. And they were too numerous to count. Over millions. They got past hundreds of thousands into millions, and too many beyond the millions to keep on counting, of multiple tribes. And so once you couldn't force them to be your slaves because they knew the land too well, they ran away. They weren't converting to your religion. You weren't keeping your agreements with them. And they weren't dying up fast enough in wars and battles. Show you also this chart as well. You can Google it. It's on Google almost anywhere. Then that's when they intentionally decided to bring over blankets from sicknesses that had went rampant all throughout Europe, whether it be the smallpox, some type of influenza, something that the immune systems of the natives would not be used to, and brought those blankets over and gave them, and intentionally did that to kill them off. And it was the diseases one that wiped down the population by the largest proportion and helped the Europeans be able to balance the scales and the numbers to be able to bring more of them over here more safely. Your God, that God saw all of that go down. And they were doing it again for God, gold, and glory. Their three motivations. And then not only that, they tried to use their own people, the peasant class, coming out of feudalism. Some people call it like the serfs class. But they used their own poor class in Europe next. But called that group of people they tried to force to be used as slaves indentured servants. Didn't work. Why? Because they look like them. And all they could do is, run away to another plantation or to another community and claim, oh, we got attacked by some Indians and these native people, they killed everybody. And I look so tattered up and so muddy because, I've been living out in the woods. Please help me, save me, and pretend to be of a higher class status in a new community than what they actually were, but they were just running away. That happened a lot. Not only that, but they weren't used to working in this weather condition out here, definitely contracting skin cancer, passing out due to dehydration, not used to the weather patterns over here on the East Coast, and working in the fields and working to build anything in that type of climate and weather. And of course, the sicknesses that they were exposed to over here. And when I say sicknesses, things that they did not have an immune system built to handle with the different weather patterns. So they couldn't use the Native Americans for those 4 or 5 reasons I listed. They couldn't use their own people as indentured servants, but they were able to think about, who are the other 2 groups of people that we know of on Earth? Asians and Africans. Well, we get that thing that they use for fireworks. And we've now, with them developed a way to make metal into these barrel-like things. And we can put that powder they use for fireworks in it with a metal ball at the end of it and have created what we now call like the first guns or muskets. So we can't ruin our trade relationship with the Asians because we need that. That's going to be to our advantage. Because every other fight we've had with the most powerful people on Earth at that time, which were people of African descent, call them the Moors if you want to. Again, go back and learn about the Inquisition, the Reconquista, the intentional removal of the Moors, the black rulers all throughout Europe, starting in Spain and Portugal. The purpose of the Renaissance is to whitewash the history, the historical facts of all the mosaics, of all of the foundations of the castles and the empires throughout Africa, Asia, and Europe being created and led and initiated and taught to the masses of all other cultures by people of African descent. Go out and do your own history for that. I do not think I will be allowed to put that PowerPoint presentation up here without it being flagged and me losing. I'm not even doing this to be monetized anyway. I'm just doing this because I was called to start this past summer. But knowing those facts and having the primary source evidence in plethora. I can't get jiggy with that shit. I can't get jiggy with that. Like what? Are we serious right now? No. I'm thinking about the no from Get Out with the black maid servant figure, and when she's crying and saying, no. They're good to us. That pops to mind when I was saying no. So yeah. And then what was the other part of that narrative? Here's the second part. So we tried to use the native people over there who look like the black people from Africa, but it didn't work out. And we just end up having to figure out ways to wipe them out in the masses. It worked with the disease is cool. And we'll just keep them on the other side, of the Appalachian Mountains. And we'll just stay over here on the East Coast for as long as possible. Until, of course, Manifest Destiny shows up and you got your whole trailer to your situation and, so on and so forth. And we tried to use our own people, poor peasants. Didn't work for a lot of reasons. I mean, we can use them for some things, but we can't really use them like we was hoping to be able to use the Native Americans. And we can't ruin our relationships with the Asians, because between the whole past of however long, the hundreds of years of the Silk Trade route and the Roman road, the Asians and the Africans and the Europeans, regardless of their specific ethnicity or nationality or tribal origin along that area that's called the Silk Trade route or the Silk Road, they had known each other for beyond hundreds, thousands of years, have been trading with each other. So let's not, that whole narrative of Europeans just accidentally bumped into Africa and somehow accidentally started stealing Africans and accidentally chose to start using them as people who they were going to force into enslavement to set up the new world they had discovered all throughout the Caribbean and Central and South America and North America. Let's let that bullshit of a narrative just go, okay? Anybody who's pro Columbus, I see you, I got you, I know what you want. You gotta justify that a little bit better for me nowadays and let me know why you still holding that man in such high regard. Anyways, back to the point. So then why use Africans? Well, number one, unlike the Native Americans, they shouldn't know this terrain to be able to run away. And number two, we've been working with them for thousands of years. Most of them are multilingual anyway. Already know Portuguese, already know Spanish, already know Dutch. We've been working with each other, or aspects of many of their family members within every community has already worked on the Silk Trade route. So speaking the same language, communicating, not going to be an issue. We know that in terms of any of the illnesses that we've had throughout Europe that have broken out anywhere, where do we go to? The Africans for their herbs, their tinctures, their natural herbal remedies to help us with the shit that we got going on. We know they're highly educated, educate their communities, boys and girls, masculines and feminines. We also know that based upon the climate down there, they're used to that type of weather. Anytime we go down there to do trade and work with them, the weather down there throughout the different various African kingdoms is oddly similar to the weather and temperature patterns over here in the New World. And to top it all off, unlike the indentured servants, if they were to run away because of the color of their skin, we could classify them as the permanent labor force class. Could never run away and claim that they're of a different status than not. And for all 6 of those reasons, when it didn't work out with the natives, when it didn't work out with their own, and when they chose not to use the Asians, the ultimate backup, people they had known for eons, tired and sick of their ass from running everything, being dark-skinned or a darker skin than them. Reconquista set in. Interestingly, around the same time with the Inquisition, as the slave trade setting up, and let's just be honest, like I don't know if you know this or have been exposed to this truth, but the slave trade actually started in the 1200s. Just in case you didn't know that. Again, go do your research. I know they change in history all the time on the internet. But the slave trade actually started in the early 1200s. Got sources and primary source proof for that as well. For those of you who are questioning, it's out there, it's real. So we're actually talking about early 1200s to 1865, specifically as it pertains to the United States and emancipation being in 1865. You do that math on the amount of years. I mean, because I get it, you know, for saying this in a very vulgar, just matter-of-fact, frank way. When it was any other fight against people of African descent, who were the very first, when we talk about martial arts, cultivators of that craft. And every other fight, we talking fist on fist, man to man, mano y mano, knife on knife fight, axe on axe fight, arrow to arrow fight, any other fight with any group of people who have been whooping ass and winning, but being graceful about it, irregardless of the narratives of his story that we have been given. And you know what I mean when I say we, the community I'm mainly speaking to in this message. So again, take what resonates, leave what does not. If you're not a part of the community that I'm specifically addressing here, you're literally just listening in on information that I'm intending for a specific group of people to hear. But everybody is welcome to hear. Yeah. So the invention of the gun, this mechanical contraption, being able to hold people at gunpoint, show somebody, this is what I mean when I say do what I say. Shoot and kill somebody and watch folks notice what that means. Once you demonstrate with a gun what it can do, everybody else naturally knowing, with as many guns that are seen and not knowing really what's going on, fall in line, or this is going to happen to you too. What's not taught, of course, in history is that there was rebelling all along the way, irregardless of the demonstration of the prowess and success of guns. Guns is what tipped the scale. Guns, germs, and steel. Guns tipped the scale for the Europeans to now be the ruling masses across everywhere. Took it from the Aborigines down in Australia. Took it from the original black descendants of the Americas, the Aztec, Incas, and the Mayans, the Olmecs before them, the original people of all islands, Haiti, Jamaica. Only reason why we have certain other races is because the original race has been raped out. And the mass graves are galore, never to be discovered or allowed to be dug up and known, of the bodies. Like, color can be raped out of a community and was intentionally done to many communities across times, where the darker babies that were born were buried alive. And the lighter skinned babies were the ones that are allowed to keep on living on, so that the narrative would show that the actual people of this specific claimed ethnicity look like this, or look like something other than what the originators of that community, that ethnic group, really look like. History is all intentional and strategic. Even the part in the narrative of why so many people who are African American feel this affinity and connection to Egypt. There's a part of this narrative that I could teach you all and show you all as well, of as far as why that's true. When the Europeans came down, and I am saying Europeans broadly because there was some working together. It wasn't just the Spanish and just the Portuguese and just the Italians. No, motherfuckers was working together, and whoever was the best or whatever was on the ship to help shit get done. Yeah, there was competition, but again, it's all about that money game. Whoever's paying is whoever's paying to accomplish whatever the mission is, to get as much of the riches as you can for accomplishing whatever you need to accomplish for them. So when we're talking about Alexander the Great and his grandfather and great-grandfather having contact with Africa, when we're talking about the invasions and the burnings of the libraries and the communities in the northern part of Africa, when we're talking about the Crusades and those holy wars during that era and what was really going on, that's the beginning of the foundation of what they call the slave trade. Moving certain people out of certain areas, getting access for financial, fiscal reasons to certain ports, certain sites that vibrate spiritually at certain resonance levels to gain access for power over thinking for spiritual, esoteric reasons, and to construct a whole new world order system that would bow down to another because of their control of land, trade, and thinking through religion and faith, or belief systems, if you will. It's all strategic, all very well done and cultivated. Have I connected all the dots? No. Give me some time, but I'm pretty sure I won't be able to reveal whatever I come up with my own hypothesis, and it's going to be multiple hypotheses because this could, come out in a myriad of ways. Myriad of ways. But my number one reason why I'm not a Christian anymore is because I can't get with a God that allowed slavery to go down and sit back and watch it and do nothing for that long. Nothing. The suffering, the bucking, the raping, the tearing out of babies. I don't give a fuck what you claim these people did wrong. The innocence of you sitting back and just watching this, what? Legs folded, legs spread, arms folded, arms apart, popping popcorn, sipping on wine. Like, what was enjoyable about seeing that happen? And of course, nobody loves to talk about how people from Africa were also stolen and sent to Asia as well, and sent to India as well. Sent so many places, but it's only talked about in the Americas. And of course, between the Europeans and the European descending Americans, all deflect that the other one had taken more people or their numbers are worse than. For North America, they say, the numbers of people stolen from Africa and taken to South America were greater than the numbers up here. We forget about the sex farms. You forget about how y'all had women up in these large houses, these mansions that y'all raped for days and days and days on, especially once it was decided legally all up and down the East Coast that y'all said we're not going to go to Africa and take people no more. So we got to find another fix-all. Let's just breed them over here. That's where you get certain cuss words from. A motherfucker. When you force a son to sleep with his mother due to how it seems the mother is able to produce and bring out a certain type of male phenotype physical build. Yeah. Catch that one for all of you who love saying motherfucker. And how that probably, especially if you're black, happened in your family potentially once if you are a descendant of the survivors. I'm here because I'm a result of the survivors. Other proof and evidence of this of why I can't get down. So many black families, the girls start their menstruation or their period early. In my family, almost every girl starts their period between the age of 6, 7, 8, and 9 years old. Almost everybody before the age of 10. Because there's this history we are aware of, some people are not, of the women in the family being used on these sex farms, these sex plantations. And so as a result, the body generationally is used to being prepared to bear children younger and younger and younger and younger. And we generationally in our DNA, in our blood, are starting still to this day, our periods at such an early age. Some people like to say, oh, it's in the food, it's the chemicals and all this shit. No, I'm going to let y'all, scientists, this ain't one for you to comment on. You keep your peace, I'm going to speak my truth. It's because of the history of what has been done genetically that has altered us permanently. Because of the fuck shit that this God allowed to go on for that long. Holla if you hear me. If you resonate with any of this. It's the truth that, you know, the hair on your arms and the back of your neck, you get goosebumps to this type of information because it's a truth beyond the truth that's not allowed to, not as often. It's just not as often spoken about because it's hurtful, it's painful, but it is what it is. And you got to know how to compartmentalize this shit. That's why I'm so grateful I'm a Virgo. I keep professional, and personal, baby. Don't nobody know what I think. I don't have a political stance on anything. It's two sides of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin. Yeah. Then you got to go into the history. So much. It's just so much. And I know I'll probably do that on my other channel. I'm excited. I'll be launching it on October 10th, just like I started this channel on 7/7. And I will be starting my new channel on 10/10. So if you are interested in some of the things that I've been sharing here, especially in this part 1, part 2, part 3 series of why I'm no longer a Christian, basically going to go into this in a lot more of a formal, professional, not just spewing out like I never, ever do type of format. Much more professional, clear cut, seeing how I can potentially put some artifacts up there. I got to figure out how to set that all up without plagiarism and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the new channel where I can really be me, this part of me that delves into the history, the health, the psychology, the spiritual synchronistic history of communities of color, why the occultism is not a bad thing. So thank you so much for listening to part 3 especially. I hope you enjoyed part 1. I did just go all over the place in that one. And part 2 was really the nitty gritty. But I am not a Christian for 3 main reasons, and 3 reasons only. I cannot sit back and pray to a God that has allowed slavery to go on and the injustice not be in any form properly addressed and rectified for the survivors. Just let that second part go. I can't be a Christian to restart this because of the slave trade. And again, nobody is inherently a slave. People are forced into enslavement. That's exactly how I teach it. They were forced to be slaves. And yes, you can't force somebody to be a slave, just like people are forced into sex trafficking and human trafficking. You got enough people bigger and stronger than you with enough drugs and enough guns pointed at you, you'd be surprised how the human will decides, you know, we're going to have to just find another day, find another way. But right now, the whole idea is survival. Preservation is what the body's built for. So to the whole Kanye's and the governor of Florida who's like, you know, slavery was beneficial to black people or black people allowed it to happen. Please, as soon as the time machine is real, put yourself in that time period, sir. With them guns at your head, with that bucking going on to all the black males who even seem like they could be a threat of causing a slave rebellion. Once those things have happened to you, Kanye, and you found a woman in the midst of all of that you love, and she's being raped nonstop by y'all slave master, and you get sold off because he don't like the idea or side of you being with her, and he cuts off your manhood and other things potentially as well, publicly, as a demonstration. And let's say she does end up sleeping and sneaking to sleep with you, and that's the reason why your stuff gets cut off. And then she gets pregnant and is beat and the baby is cut out of her, and you're forced to wait without your penis to see the baby go to a certain term to be cut out, just as proof that he gonna do whatever he want with her, and anything can happen with you. But they're survivors. Their descendants are survivors. His descendant survives. Somehow, some way, some of them babies did survive. We got survivor in our blood. We got survivors in our blood. We got rebellion and resistance in our blood. And there's power in truth, and there's power in numbers. There doesn't need to be power in words anymore. power in the truth, and power in the number of people who uphold the truth. So to be put simply, I can't get jiggy with a God that allowed for slavery and all the heinous things that happen all across this globe for that long, period. That allows for human trafficking, that allows for sex trafficking, that allows for child molestation and pedophilia, and that allows for rapings. I'm going to just leave it right there at that. So I hold that God accountable, hold those gods accountable, whatever religion you want to attribute your God to. And I stop right here, and this is my truth. Have a good one, and peace and blessings to you.